Good evening and welcome to Thinking Re-envisioned. You're just seconds away from the unbeatable Henry G. Noel. Believe me when I say your ego has met its match. Here's Henry.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Transitional Radio, home of Brian Brody's Mortal Up and All Natural Being, and this, our 16th episode of Thinking Re-envisioned. My name is Henry G. Noel, and I am your host. Thinking Re-envisioned, we're here to make you think. We are here to make you question. Question everything. I wish to thank you for joining me this Sunday evening, where we will talk about what is keeping you actually from your all natural being, or whatever it is you want to talk about. Just put it up in the thread and we'll go from there. So we are broadcasting live this evening from our uplink studio in beautiful Cuenca, Ecuador. We are 2 degrees south of the equator, where altitude is our thermostat, actually. We are broadcasting live on IPMNation.com and Thinking Re-envisioned's, Facebook and YouTube pages. I wish to thank our listeners from all over the globe and our new listeners from Afghanistan, Costa Rica, Italy, Nepal, Romania, Russia, South Africa, Trinidad, Tobago, and Vietnam. To those listening on live radio, those listening to our rebroadcast, and you, fly on the wall video listeners, it's great to have you listening in. I would also like to thank our good friends at Wirecast for making it all possible for us to be broadcasting both live and globally. Matt, thank you so much for your support. And to all of our listeners who wish to participate in this show, email me at henry@henrygnoel.com. It is my wish to present a show where you and everyone can be as actively involved as they want. Now, we trust that you've had an enjoyable weekend, in this holiday weekend. So let's get into the thread. Let's say hi and see what's on everybody's mind this Sunday evening before the snow hits everybody. So that's what we're going to try to work on. So I want to say hi to those that are in. Joseph, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. Maria, thank you so very much. I really do thank you for being here. Matt Connerton, thank you so much for jumping in. I appreciate it. Rita, hi, how are you? Kathy, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you're here. Let's see. Lee, hi, Lee. How are you, man? Glad you're on here. Alice, good to see your icon pop up. And a pleasant evening to everybody. And hopefully wherever you all are in the U.S., the snow is not going to be too terribly much for you guys. Hopefully it's all there. We don't get really snow here, so it's I kind of forgotten what it was like after 10 years in Michigan. And you know what? I'm kind of glad I forgot. It's been kind of nice without the snow. John, welcome. It's great to see your icon pop up. Thank you for joining me this evening. I appreciate it. And hi right back at you. So yeah, tonight we were going to talk about a little bit, at least what I posted up there was what's keeping everybody from your all natural being. I mean, Brian's talked about it enough. We know it's all there. We know what's there. Our happiness is in there. Our love is in there. We have all of that already inside of us. It was given to us right at the very get-go. And so what is it that keeps us from really pushing it? What is it that keeps us from really wanting to express and really pull up the all natural being that we have and keep us from doing that? So that's really what I wanted to bring up. But if there's anything else you guys want to talk about, that would be fabulous. I would love to do that. Kathy says, I'm getting too old for snow. I get you, Kathy. I can attest to that. Shoveling wasn't fun. Joe, you got 6 inches yesterday. Wow, Joseph, that's wild. But you live in some beautiful part of the country, so that is just magnificent. I love it, and thank you for sharing the pictures and stuff. It's a beautiful country. Big sky. I tell you what, you got a huge terrain, and it's absolutely beautiful. So thank you so much. Wanted to find out too how hopefully everybody had a great giving thanks. Let's put it that way. And I'm hoping that worked out real well for everybody. We'll see how things reply back as we go along. But again, anything in particular that's keeping you from your all natural being? What is it that holds us back? What keeps us in a fear mode? What keeps us in in a hate mode? What keeps us in a guilt mode? What is it that keeps us from just enjoying our all-natural being? There's so many things that we do get involved in, and the stresses that we deal with. So yeah, anything that you want to talk about as far as that is concerned, please jump right on in there. I'd appreciate that. So yeah, we me for one, I tend to try to bring out as much of that all-natural being as I can. I don't tend to fear very much. I don't have the guilt issues. I've kind of worked over the last few decades about that. Thank you, Fred, for joining in. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for tuning in. And hopefully New Mexico is doing beautiful. Hopefully. We'll see how that goes. I don't think you guys are getting snow, but I believe that is all up north. I guess it's all up in the north. So hopefully you've got a nice clean set of roads out there. But yeah, working through a lot of the issues to try to really understand what we are doing and why we are beating ourselves up. It's to me, it's really important to really get that all-natural being out there, because that's what we get to enjoy our life. Mary says, I fight with my will, and I have a stubborn selfishness that rebels against what I want to do, ideally. Like eating too much is one example. Thank you for sharing, Mary. I get it. It's, having self-control is extremely difficult. It really is. And that is one of the things that we do have to deal with when it comes time to really understanding ourselves and working with this self. And to me, the largest step we can take is just simply admitting. That's the first step. Admitting we have the issues. Once we can admit, honestly, we have the issues, then we can work on them. Then we can start to break down and find out the why we have them and all of that. And thank you for sharing. I appreciate that, Mary. I love the honesty. Thank you. Wayne says 5 to 8 predicted from here tonight. Wow, that's a lot of snow. Okay, dry and windy in New Mexico, that's cool. That's great. Thank you, Fred. Rita says, "What will people think?" Is a good one. What would people think is a good one? There you go. Marie, sometimes it's the fear. Absolutely right. Of getting pushed back from going against the flow. Thank you, Marie. I appreciate it. That is one of the things I found the biggest hindrances I had in this changing. We happening to deal with stuff that keeps coming in, and my issue, the major part of my issue was, I progress and I make the changes and I do the things that I needed to do in order to really improve my life, but then I fall back and I pick up that bad habit again and lose the ground that I had gained. And that's why it does. It just takes a long time to try to get out of these same sequences that we have come to become so used to and so familiar with, that we literally identify with it. Mr. Brenner, welcome. Welcome to the show. Thank you, Robert. I'm glad to see our icon pop up. Thank you for joining in. Let's see. Mary says, hello, my name is Mary and I eat too much. It's like that. Yeah, like Alcoholics Anonymous. I like that. Thank you, Mary. Yeah, that is cute. But yeah, this is what we have to do. I mean, honestly, that is the things. And I would fall back. I'd make all this gain. And then it was like I was standing on ice and I just slip right back into my old ways, not even realizing it, and have to have it pointed out again and go, oh yes, that's right. I gotta stop that. And then make progress and then right back again. It's that, what was that 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. And that was my biggest issues I kept slipping. I kept falling back. I'd pick up that bad habit again and I just keep right on going. Joseph says, my experience is it takes 2 weeks to break habits. It does. In fact, what I found was what I was doing was substituting another habit for the one that I wanted to get rid of. And sometimes I think that that's good. I think it works. Other times it's just another habit. And so it becomes frustrating at times to realize that you really do to have to create a whole new habit in order to break the one that you're trying to break. I think sometimes it's good. I think it's hard. I think depending on what the habit is that we are trying to break. So, for example, you're trying to quit smoking. substituting it with eating probably is not a good idea, right, Mary? But I think that when you're trying to break the habit of like me, it's potato chips. My gosh, I just have this weakness about potato chips, and the worst part about it is so does Rita, and so that's a big issue that we have to. So we don't buy them; we leave them out of the house, and that's because we'll sit down and finish a bag, and so we just don't do that. And I think that that's part of the situation of recognizing what we do. We know what we want to stop, and then getting back into and replacing the habit with something different. Joseph says you have to find good habits. Absolutely right, Joseph. That's really what it requires. Fred, thank you. Fear of the unknown, fear of loss due to attachment, fear of the truths that we have denied for many years, and facing the possibility that we have lived some of our lives in some false illusions and expectations. Man, spot on, Fred. Thank you very much. That's exactly what we do, and that's the thing. You'd think that it was real simple. We don't want to smoke anymore, or we don't want to, or we don't want to drink anymore, and we just stop. Yeah. Well, it's people make a lot of money, a lot of businesses trying to get people to break habits. But you're right. We're afraid that we're left alone. We're afraid of the unknown. We're afraid to really delve into it. We want to, but I think you're right. I think the fear is a driving force of all of that. I mean, ultimately, we have to face ourselves in the mirror, and that's probably the biggest fear we all have is we can't lie to ourselves. We can try, but we really actually know the truth, even if we don't want to admit it. And so I think that that's a large part of the issues that we do have to deal with. Mary says, yes, not a good substitution. You have to substitute it with an alternative good habit. Thank you, Mary. Yes, you do. Robert, thank you. Oh, appreciate it. Thank you very much. Wilson, it's great to see you. Thank you, Wilson. Lovely. Hopefully, Peru is being absolutely lovely. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate that. Thank you. Mary says, I find it takes much longer than 2 weeks to break a habit. Some people have said it takes 28 days. Well, that hasn't worked for me either. I think sometimes it's the rest of your life that you have to fight it. And sometimes I think it's true. I think that there is things that we just, for some reason, can't seem to let go of. We can't stop them. And that is really what we have to face. But it's the honesty. I mean, that is the biggest step right there, is the honesty. Knowing that we have to do this, that we have to stop, that we have to quit this, that it's not good for us, and we have to just eliminate it from our lives, take it from our vocabulary, and remove it. And that's the largest part of that. But honesty is the biggest thing we can do. If we can be honest with ourselves, we can sit here and tell ourselves the truth. We can do those things. With that is the biggest step, admittance and honesty. Those are the biggest hurdles I think we all face, because we all deal with this. And I think that is something that is very important. It's a very important point to make sure we make, because stopping things isn't easy. And a large part of it is we've identified with this, the habit that we have, or the thing that we're trying to break, or the idea of trying to get back into ourselves, or to find our all natural being. We tend to put up shields that cover this stuff up, that don't allow us to really get into it and really face the truth. And so it takes really the commitment to do that. And again, honesty is the best policy. If we can admit we have the issue, that's the biggest part of it. Most of us spend most of our lives denying we have the issue, that we have the problem. That no, I would love to be able to get my all natural being, but I just can't do it. I just don't want to do that. I'm afraid to what I'm going to find out. Well, that's part of the issue, and I think that's what's very important with all of this. So, yeah, I think that it is. I think replacing bad habits with good habits is a great step in the right direction, and that's really a large part of what we have to do for ourselves. So, anybody else out there with facing the same stuff? I mean, I know, like I says, I've done it. I've worked on this for decades now, trying to get through and walk the talk and live what it is that I say. Because to me, that's the only way to really be honest with everybody, is to say, yes, I do. I walk the talk. This is what I really want to believe in. I don't hate. I don't have the fears. It doesn't bother me anymore, and it's worked out really well. Joseph says human nature is to keep a pattern until we have to change. And Joseph, and we do. I think just driving home the same way that we just taking the same route back every day, or stopping off in the morning to that donut shop or to the bagel shop or getting a cup of coffee. We have habits that we do, and yes, and it takes a while. It does take quite a while to break a habit, and again, replacing a habit that you want to break with one that is much more acceptable to you. I think that's important to be able to distinguish those. So yes, we do this all the time. This is something that is part of us. And again, and that may be, I find very little in the way of human nature, Joseph. I really don't find a lot of things where human nature, something can be classified as human nature. But I think you're right on this one. I think this one is something that we do tend to form patterns, and we do run our lives this way. And I mean, we're organized. We set up filing systems for ourselves, and I think that's how we do live our life. We do follow certain patterns that we lay down, and whether it's simply a driving direction, or whether it's a eating thing that we deal with, or if it's a smoking thing we deal with, or if it's even refusing to go in and simply not find our all natural being, or being able to mortal up. I think it's all there. Robert Brennan says, I have fallen down several times. Each time the fall leads to the door, to a door opening. And thank you, Robert. I appreciate that. Thank you for the input. But yes, absolutely. Everything that happens in our lives does happen for a reason. And I don't believe that in coincidences. Joseph says we all have a white whale. We know, yeah, we do. We all have the stigma. We all have these things that we do. And the hassle that we have, even in something as profound as going for your all natural being. If we harbor the guilt because we're not succeeding, that just adds fuel to the fire, and we just add another layer on top of these other layers of issues that we have to try to deal with and try to get out of it. Mary says, not only should you be honest with yourself, but also do not lie to yourself. Absolutely true. Such as you are hopeless, or you are a loser. You're never going to beat this. Absolutely right, because that is the negative talk. Negative talk sticks a whole lot easier and for a lot longer than positive talk does. It is so interesting. Fred says, if we learn from our experiences, we advance onward in our wisdom. If we don't, and I think he'll continue that. But you're right. I think if we do learn from experiences. Like I says, I never learned anything from what I did wrong. I mean, what I did right. I learned it from what I did wrong. And my dad had always said that that's the way you would learn it. You're not going to learn from what you do right. You're going to learn from what you do wrong, because that's how we do function. And so that's, except for like maybe my brother Wayne, who never did anything wrong, but he just, it's just the way we are wired. It's the way we are programmed, and we don't want to face the truth sometimes. We don't want to have to deal with it. We don't want to think that we are not in control, or that we're weak. We don't want to know that. That's the part of that I think that's really important. Let's see. If we learn from our experiences, we advance onward in our wisdom. If we don't learn, we continue to suffer from the same lessons. Absolutely right. Thank you very much, Fred. I appreciate that. But the good words of wisdom. But that is exactly it. We have to go on. We have to move. We have to learn. We have to know when it is time to change. I mean, what is it? The Kenny Rogers song, know when to hold them, know when to fold them, and know when to walk away, know when to run. These are the things that we have to understand and learn from, because it's really appropriate for us in dealing with this stuff. So yes, please understand that is really what it is. If we can learn from our experiences, we move on, we advance, we develop wisdom. If we don't, then we just continue to plod along, continue to suffer, continue to point fingers, continue to negate everything that we're trying to accomplish simply by not doing it. So yes, that's a large part of this. So thank you, by the way, for all the inputs. This is what I and being able to rationalize this stuff, and being able to talk back and forth with this it really is excellent. Well, it sure beats me sitting here reading something. So because that'll put you to sleep. Joseph says, how many times did it take all you learn? The stove is, and that's it. Yeah. Mary says 5 times. Yeah. How many times did you have to learn that the stove is hot? Me, several times. You start to really look at it and really see what it is. But I think that that's part of it. We can get pretty stubborn sometimes. And as even as adults, I mean, I remember it was interesting because I went from a gas stove to a electric stove, and I don't go and touch grids, so I don't do that anymore because it took me several times to learn that you don't do that. The same thing with handling wood. You know how many times you're going to grab a splinter out of your finger because you just grabbed a piece of wood, didn't have a pair of gloves on, and you're picking splinters out of your hand. Half the time I still do that. So yeah, sometimes it's a bit dense, and sometimes it takes a bit to learn. But that's what it's all about. Rita says it's kind of like watching reruns and expecting a different outcome. Yeah, there you go. That's it. Slow learner. Thank you, Joseph. That's me. Slow learner. Robert says I lied to my subconscious all the time with good things. It does not know the difference. And that's exactly it. If I mean, what's the adage that they always say? Whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. I mean, it's that simple. We can bombard ourselves with a lot of negative and then feel really miserable about it and then reinforce the negative with more negative, or we can just quit it out and just go right for the positive and deal with that. This whole objective of change, self-renewal, this whole process of readjusting and unlearning so that we can make room to relearn, is a very tough process. It's a very, very tough process, and it's a very, very difficult to get through and admit it. So it becomes a very, very big issue. Maria says, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is the definition of insanity. And that's absolutely right, Maria, because it is. I mean, we will do everything we can sometimes to fool ourselves, to try to not be honest with ourselves. And the problem is we're the ones that pay the price for it. I mean, we point fingers, but they all point back at us, so it doesn't help. He says, Fred says, your ego loves to lie to you, to your true self, because it doesn't want to die. Well, and I agree with you, Fred, totally. I think the ego not only does it lie to you because it doesn't want to die. I think the ego doesn't want to be embarrassed. And so it simply will not tell you the truth. I mean, it's simply going to get you out there defending it and protecting its reputation, if that's what you would want to call it. But that's exactly what the ego does. It manipulates us to going out there fighting its fights for them because it doesn't want to lose. It doesn't want to be embarrassed. It doesn't want to be humiliated. And so it just gets us out there to do its dirty work for us rather than simply we control it and say, hey, back down. This is not what we need to do. Robert says, oh, I'm crazy. Yeah, I think, there's a large part of that going around, Robert. Kathy, hi, welcome. I didn't see your name up earlier. So thank you. I'm glad that you're here. I have to go. Good night. Good night, all. You take care, Kathy. Thank you. Marie says, it's amazing how many excuses we can come up with when we don't want to do something. We can justify just about anything when we don't want to do it. And I was as guilty as everybody else is, because there was many times I just didn't want to get out there and do the things I was supposed to be doing, especially in this process of self-renewal and really changing. There were times I beat my head against the wall because I just didn't want to go that route. I didn't understand it. I didn't really want to deal with it. And so I fought it. And ultimately, it did. It came back and I was able to get through a lot of this. And it's worked out really well once I've accomplishing it. That was the hard part. A simple word, 4-letter word, stop. I had such an issue with stop. Stop what? What am I going to stop? What do you want me to stop? Everything. What do you mean everything? What's this everything thing? What do you mean stop everything? Now I get it. Now I finally understood it. And that was now the process of unlearning, getting rid of the stuff that I was taught and start to build up my own resources, my own self, getting to understand where the data is and how we can retrieve it and find out that it's all in there. We have all the answers. We just don't know how, we just don't understand the filing system, and we can't retrieve it. And that's what that process of stopping was to stop everything I was doing, change the way I perceived things, and go back in and relook, because all the answers were there. Then it wasn't wrong. All the answers were there. Let's see. Mary said, Robert, the first step is admitting. Absolutely right. It really is. That's the first step, admitting. If we can't admit, we're never going to change anything. So that is the most important. Belief systems. Absolutely, Rita. It's belief systems. It's all BS. And that's the thing. Michael, welcome. I'm glad to see your icon pop up. You caught me right here at the end, but I'm glad that you're on. Thank you very much. But yes, it's all belief systems. It's everything. Everything we do is our belief systems. It's what we believe in. And it's not until we can actually start to strip away a lot of the belief systems that we actually do find our all natural being. Because it's buried underneath all of this stuff. It's just so deeply buried, and it's been being buried from the time we're born, and before, from the time that we're born. And it is hard, because we are constantly being learned how to do things, how to stop doing things. We stop our imaginary friends, stop the baby talk, stop all of this stuff that was natural to us as an infant. And so that's what I really want to make sure that people start to understand, that it is very important that we start to back off some of the things that we have done, the way we do things, and everything to go. I'm being signaled. I got about a minute and a half to go. So we'll go ahead and we'll see about getting it wound down here. But yeah, I got the eyes. I love it. Thank you. I was waiting for the eyes. Thank you, bro. But yeah, it's not an easy journey. This is a tough journey, going through and changing our entire way of thinking, the way we see ourselves, the way we perceive ourselves. Everything is very, very difficult. It is a very difficult journey, but it's doable. It really is. Let's see. Fred says, and the futile actions that are not so important in the grand scheme of things. Absolutely right. Robert says, I say this in my head throughout the day, every day, in every way. I get better and better. Thank you very much. Janet, welcome. I am so sorry we are done. I've got about a minute left to go, but I'm so glad to see your icon pop up. We come on at the 8:30 mark. So anyway, I thank you all for being here. Thank you for joining us in. We will be on tomorrow, same time, and same place, I guess, unless my brother tells me something different. Then we are all set to go. So have a great evening, everybody. I want to thank you very much for all the contributions and all of the writings. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. We'll see you tomorrow. Hasta luego. Thank you, man. Yes, Joseph. Peace out. Thank you.